Okay, so we'll continue practicing defining functions using parameters and arguments. And this time we're going to do a rect function. Drawing rectangles actually wasn't that bad because it was just context.fill rect or stroke rect. So that wasn't too painful. Didn't have that begin path and move to line to. But I still think it would be neat to be able to do just one function and then pass in a mode, right? Say fill or stroke, depending on what we want to do, instead of having two separate functions for a rectangle. So we're going to try to do that. Otherwise, it's kind of the same x, y, width, and height. Before we do that, it's usually a good idea to add a little comment by your function. So this is, draw a line segment from x1, y1 to x2, y2. Right, just to explain what your function does. Okay, and we probably don't need so many lines on here anymore. Let's just get rid of these ones. So to remember, if we wanted to draw a rectangle, we would go context.stroke rect and then give it a top left corner, so 100, 100, a width of 200, a height of 50, let's say. Right, and stroke style is blue, so this should give me a blue. There it is, a blue rectangle, right? The top left corner is 100, 100, width of 200, height of 50. And if I wanted to do a filled rectangle, I just change this to fill rect. And it'll then fill it in. And the default fill style is black because I didn't change that. Fill style is orange, let's say. Semicolon, not colon. There we go. Okay. So like I said, this wasn't that painful, but we're still going to do a function called rect. Open and close parentheses, open and close braces. And again, we're going to start inside of these parentheses here because that's where I can define those parameters to store the information. And it's going to be pretty basic, x, y, width, and height, but then I need that mode, right? So the way I want to do this is I'm going to change this to call the rect function, and I'll just pass in, fill or stroke. So inside of here, the first thing I'm going to do is actually just test this mode, right? Write a condition statement. So if mode is equal to fill, then I'm going to go context.fill rect at x, y, width, and height. Right? And x, y, width, and height will be whatever the values are passed into here. And I'll take those values and pass them into this function. So the fill rect will use those values. Else if mode is equal to stroke, then we go context.stroke rect x, y, width, and height. Like so. Okay, and that we shouldn't say change. So let's try stroke first. Save that. And we get the blue, because that's the stroke style up here is blue. And if I change that to fill, we get the fill. Awesome. So if I want to draw another rectangle, just this rectangle, 400, 500, width of 70, and a height of 200. Oh, and I need to have that, let's go stroke. Oh, there it is, off the screen. Because the height is a height of 600. There we go. Let's make that 100. Okay, cool. So that's the rect function, right? Again, we define these parameters, x, y, width, height, and mode. And then when I call the function, I pass in arguments, right? I give the values that these parameters will store. Okay, and as we're building all these functions, we should define this, I guess. Draw a stroke or fill rectangle with with a top left corner of XY, a width of W, and a height of H. And that side scroll is annoying. Okay, let's go to our settings. And I'm sure in settings there is something here about probably, oops, wrap. Editor word wrap is off. And we want to turn it on. There we go. Okay, so now it kind of does that wrap there. I guess I could have forced it to, right? At the end here, I could have just gone and done another comment. Whatever. Okay. We'll save that. All right, so this is going good. We've got our. I keep wanting to put extra spaces in, but whenever I save, it does an auto format and says you don't need those extra spaces. Later on, I'll show you what we're going to do. Actually, is take these functions and put them in a separate file. Actually, let's do that right now. Why not? Let's create a new file and call it graphics library.js. Okay, and what I'm going to do with this graphics library is that's where I'm going to define all of these functions. I'm going to cut them. I'm going to paste them into here and save. And now it's giving me warnings because context isn't defined. So that is a problem. Well, it won't be a problem, and you'll see. I'm going to save this. And in index.html, what I need to do now is do another script tag where the source is graphicslibrary.js. Okay, so basically what it does now is it's going to load this file. So it defines all of these functions. And then it's going to load the main.js. And main.js is going to use those functions. Okay, so let's save that now. And it still works. Yay! Now, I think Code Sandbox is still complaining, but I think that's it might be just that it's not smart enough to recognize that we've loaded this. I want to test this in Visual Studio Code and see if it's smarter and knows not to complain about these things. Because what we're doing is fine. Because it works. Yay! Okay, anyway, we'll leave it at that for rectangle. In the next video, we will look at the next one, which is a circle. Okay, hope this is making sense, and hopefully you can see the potential of how, once we define all these functions, whenever we want to do web graphics, we have these, we can just load this file into our project, and we can use these functions. It makes it so much easier. Okay, take care. Hope this is making sense, and we'll see you in the next video.